game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and Rolling Costumes started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time, so I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
JS3.
Slight delay, but a delay of the inevitable. It's going to be one of the most challenging racetracks on the season. And live here tonight from WATKINS GLEN International, it's the Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series, presented live on V-Speed. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper, alongside Jeff Wright all season long. And Jeff, this is one of those tracks that we might see a different winner. We've already seen some variety of drivers in victory lane, but we might see a new name we never expected.
It certainly opens up the opportunity to potentially get a new winner. You're definitely right with that. But, you know, a lot of the guys that have been really good this season also happen to be very good at road courses, you know. So you look at the standings here with Philip Brewer at the top with 2 wins. I feel like that's a name that we're going to have to watch very closely tonight. Last season, we raced this very car on a road course, but it was at Sonoma. Very different road course. but, still, different than all the ovals that we've been to. He ran really well. Didn't get the win that he thought he was deserving of, but still, somebody knows how to get around road courses. That's Philip Brewer at the top. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get his third win of the season.
And with full course cautions being deactivated this week, it makes for a different situation on the strategy in pit road. You have to execute on pit lane. If you make a mistake coming in, speeding penalty, maybe miss your box, it's over.
Yeah, you got to be clean. We have a stage at lap 10 tonight, so that'll give these drivers an opportunity to reset, but also, like you said, the strategy. Do you pit before the stage? Do you pit after the stage? And then, still, you're going to have a pit stop that you'll probably have to split between that pit stop and the very end of the race. So still a lot can happen here. It's not just going to be the guy that sits on the pole or who can run the one fastest lap. It's going to be the guys that can run a good race and make no mistakes.
45 laps, the race length here tonight. 40-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit. 4 tire sets available. And I would assume every time these drivers come into pit road, it will be 4 tires on both sides. I don't see any advantage to taking one side or the other. And 2 green-white checkered attempts, barring that we don't have an incident that blocks the entire track. We'll most likely not see a caution here tonight. Like you said, stage there on lap 10. Failed to mention that here in the race analysis. 80% fuel on the iRacing Fix setup. And one more thing that we have to talk about is Watkins Glen International. We'll take a look at our track map here. And it's one of those racetracks that, like I said, it's different than Sonoma, but it's still a technical circuit and a lot of right-hand turns.
Yeah, and a lot of times the guys that are good at Sonoma, aren't always the guys that are good here. So just because we saw guys like Philip Brewer run really well, Noah Mihalski run really well at Sonoma last season, doesn't mean they're just going to walk in here and maybe be the favorite. Although looking at the qualifying order, Philip Brewer is already on the pole tonight. So I think he's going to be certainly strong here. But yeah, you're right. A lot different. It's a very fast racetrack. And we're going to see who comes out on top here. I don't think we're just going to give it to Philip Brewer out of the gate. It's going to be the guys that can be really good on that long run, but also execute those pit stops.
18 cars showing up here tonight, and a special shout out to Juicy Spider Studios for helping us with our track animations. All of those new animations that you're seeing here in Saturday Night Racing, all courtesy of them and helping us out. So we appreciate them. The graphics just keep getting better and better. But here we go. Let's take you track side now and get the grid up on the screen. Starting on the top spot, as mentioned by Jeff Wright, it's going to be Philip Brewer. He ran a 1:13.385. That's 0.3 of a second faster almost than Justin Ritchie, who will start to his left-hand side as they come across for lap 1. Row number 2 belongs to Jared Skinner in the number 7. He's due for a win. He's starting to put together some podiums. Maybe he's the guy that can find his way to victory lane. Ben Lafter will start in the 4th position. Then row number 3 with Noah Mihalski, Jordan Trask in the 79. He's got 2 wins on the season. Noah Mihalski, last week's winner at Kansas. Hunter Sr. will start in the 7th position. Mark Cofield in the 98. Good to see him back here on the racetrack. And rounding out your top 10, Chuck Sweeting, Judson Curtis in the 29.
It's going to be Caleb Weekly in that number 13 rolling off in the 11th spot. And he got a top 5 finish at Sonoma last season, so watch out for him. And Austin Belke, to his outside, finished 8th in that very same road course race. Starting in the 13th spot tonight, it is going to be Brandon Wallace. He's a winner in the Cup Series, or in the Challenger Series earlier this season at Echo Park Speedway. And Matt Shanoski rolling off 14th. He got a top 10 at Sonoma last season as well. So watch out for Matt Shanoski in that machine. In 15th, it's going to be Tad Dabney in that number 9 alongside Christopher Hodges in the 15. And then we have Stephen Davis in 17th and Keith Shoemaker in the 88. Going to round out our field tonight.
So for 45 laps, you have 7 opportunities, and I count the other turns in the bus stop as turns, so I'd say 11 opportunities to make a mistake. But Jeff, real quick, who's your pick for tonight?
Yeah, I got to go with Philip Brewer. I just think he's got all around a ton of talent. He put it on the pole here, so he could obviously run a quick lap. And I think Philip Brewer is going to be my bet, no doubt.
Well, we'll have to wait to see my pick, but here we go for lap number 1. Pace cars off. Let's start off week number 8 for the Challenger Series Saturday Night Racing at Watkins Glen. My favorite part of the racetrack here, Jeff, is cutting this bus stop. It is dangerous. Look how close they get to this wall. And the 29's around. That's Judson Curtis.
Yeah, big pile up here in the bus stop. We'll see if this is going to be a track blocker or not. Looks like a lot of cars involved, but I don't know if they're going to throw the yellow on this. Brandon Wallace is going to slip through okay and pick up a few positions, but you said it. It is a dangerous part of the racetrack, and unfortunately, you see guys like Caleb Weekly. He's going to be out of the race with some heavy damage. I think I see Austin Belkey also involved up there. Both these guys had such great races at Sonoma just a season ago, and I'm sure they were looking forward to this one. But for lap number 1, it's going to be the 44 of Philip Brewer as we stay under the green flag condition.
It happened at the tail end, around the 14th, 15th position. I think that's why the admins didn't choose to throw the yellow. We're already kind of working on a time delay here. We had some sessions and a little bit of confusion there on the startup, but you know, that delay put us in a situation where maybe these guys got a little bit anxious going into the top of the hill.
And, you know, a lot of times there has to be some give and take, especially at the bus stop here. This is such a tight portion of the racetrack. You're carrying so much speed down this straightaway, and then you got to get down and shift, you know, at least a gear or two to make that corner. And if people aren't backing out, giving each other a little bit more room, this can certainly happen. And as we ride on board here and kind of watch the replay, just a little bit of stack up, different braking points. That's really unfortunate. You see Keith Shoemaker did a good job locking it up. I don't know if I think he's going to be okay to continue, but a lot of these guys, Judson Curtis, you know, involved, Caleb Weekly, Austin Belkey, Stephen Davis. That's a lot of nights ended pretty early on here within, you know, just the first lap. And yeah, Judson Curtis was checking up for maybe somebody in front of him, chain reaction. Yeah, that's just a tough deal.
We'll watch it one more time on board with Curtis. I believe that's a 97 that's on the outside here. And it is a stack up. And then, yeah, there's the contact that sends Curtis around. There's Belkey involved. 60 of Stephen Davis. And, you know, back to the live shot, though. There were some other events that happened. Brandon Wallace driving a little slow. I think he went off track there for a moment. Austin Belkey, another off track after the incident. Philip Brewer set the new fastest lap time of 1 minute 13.569. That's comparable to his qualifying time.
Yeah, he's certainly ripping it around here and got a comfortable lead here over Justin Ritchie, Jared Skinner here in the early goings of this race. And also, Bradley, I don't think I've ever seen Watkins Glen since the new update. So I have to say this track looks pretty good now with all the updated, you know, the curbing and the lighting. This place really looks phenomenal. And right now it looks best from the driver's seat here of the number 44, and that's Philip Brewer. You have to wonder, though, is he taking care of his stuff? It's easy to get out front with the clean air and, you know, run some, you know, Q lap type times. But, you know, if you push too hard, you could be maybe starting to drop a little bit here. We do have that stage break we talked about, you know, around lap 10. So this isn't going to be all that of a super long run, but still, I think as we approach that stage, you're going to figure out which guys are going to be the best on the long run. And right now, Philip Brewer in the best spot with the clean air.
Justin Ritchie about 1.1 seconds back, and the battle between him and Jared Skinner starting to heat up a little bit. Skinner got a really good run off the S's, and now to the right-hand side to the bus stop chicane. I think Ritchie's just going to dial this back. He actually locks it up a little bit, ends up losing 2 positions, and overshoots the corner.
Yeah, that's tough. Ben Laughter going to get by, Jared Skinner going to get by. And it's just the portion of the racetrack where you don't want to be side by side. And if somebody gets position on you, you know, you have a choice. You know, are you going to just yield it to them and then try to fall back in line, or are you going to try to hang on? And sometimes it's just, you know, getting through that corner, it can be very difficult. And he elected to take the grass instead of potentially causing a wreck. So going to lose 2 spots there, but, you know, still in it. And the stage break will give him an opportunity to get back out there. But man, Philip Brewer is starting to kind of flex his muscles a little bit now. He has pulled out to a 2.5 second lead here. And all this battling that's going on behind him, he's loving that, because that's just going to let him get away even further. But now that guys like Skinner and Ben Laughter got some track position here, we'll see if they can maybe start to reel him in a little bit.
Yeah, they'll have about 5.5 laps to do so. Watch Laughter come up the hill, and was watching Hunter Sr., Jordan Trask. That battle was heating up a little bit for 6th position, but Trask able to pull away. Seems like Hunter Sr. better in the second half of this racetrack and the more technical 90 part in this carousel. He got a lot of ground made up. Last time by, he was about a tenth faster than Trask. Mark Cofield back here in 8th position. Remember, he was just in front of that incident with Judson Curtis. And Brandon Wallace has taken an early exit to the session. Stephen Davis with damage. Caleb Weekly still out on the racetrack. I'd say that car's getting cooled off pretty good.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that he's still able to make laps like this. I would have figured his night would have been pretty much over. I mean, I know it's heavily damaged and not going to be anything that he can go up there and probably compete for a top 10 finish anymore, but at least we do have that stage break where some of these guys will have the opportunity to pull into pit road here and see what they can fix. I definitely don't think he's going to be able to get it back to optimal shape, but if he can still get around this racetrack and pick up the points, at this point when your night's going like that, you're just trying to salvage as many points as possible. So good to see Caleb still out on the racetrack and kind of looking at some of the biggest movers of the night. You got guys like Matt Shinosky. We talked about him posting that top 10 finish at Sonoma last season. He finds himself in the top 10 again, started 14th, and he is up to 10th, as well as Christopher Hodges. He started in the 16th position, and he is knocking on the door of the top 10, riding in 11th.
So 5 positions gained for Hodges. Tad Dabney also on the move. He's up 3. Stephen Davis and Caleb Weekly. A little blink there. I think connection issue there for the 60 machine. Now he's down pit road, so he's going to kind of short pit on this stage, and that might be to try to recover all that track position. He's still up, but he got thrown so far back because of that checkup, and beyond your control. You got to kind of throw an audible at this point. And he's going to end up losing a lap, and it looks like he actually left the session. So I take back what I said.
Yeah, it's just going to be too much damage for him to overcome. But as these laps continue to click off, Jared Skinner showing some serious speed right now. That lead was about 2.5 seconds. He's got it down to inside 2 seconds. So it looks like, both these drivers, Skinner and Laughter, kind of starting to get in a bit of a rhythm here, and maybe they're able to run down Phillip Brewer. It's still a long ways up ahead, but also with that stage coming up here, what are these guys going to do? Are they going to pit before that lap 10, or are they going to just run it out and then pit afterwards? This is something that happens in road course racing. Guys will be on one side of that strategy, and a lot of times, if you feel like your track position is key, you typically want to pit before that stage. But feel like you want to have the best tires for that next run, then maybe you do stay out and claim the stage and then pit under the caution. The only worry is how deep in the field are you going to get buried by staying out.
And Laughter was all over the back bumper there through turn 6, but looks like the 7 of Skinner able to escape a little bit here. And not to confuse the viewers at home, we keep calling it a stage, but we want to clarify it's a competition caution. It does not count towards points. And here in the Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series and Cup Series, we run a chase format in the points. So these drivers will have a competition caution just to rack the field back up. Any other venue, we would run it out and have full course cautions turned on.
And looking, just from this first stint before the break, there's really 3 guys, I think, that are showing, that they're capable of winning. And that's Brewer, obviously, Skinner, and Laughter. The rest of the field, look how far back they are. These guys have really ran away from the rest of the field. So if I'm one of these guys, like Mahalski or, Trask or Richie, I would be the guy that try to pit, before this stage break or this competition caution, try to get myself some track position and then see if I can hold them off. I just feel like if I do the same thing as the leaders, I think Brewer, Laughter, Skinner, they've obviously got the rest of the guys covered on pace. So we'll have to wait and see. Do these guys try something different?
Riding on board with the driver of the 64 machine, just made a pass for second position. He's still 2 seconds back, though, from Brewer. And we have 2 laps to go here before that competition caution is flown. Any word on pit road being closed at this point?
Nope, there's not going to be any closure of pit lane before this break or competition caution. So drivers can do whatever they please. So that's why I'm interested to see what are these guys going to do, because they really have the freedom to do whatever they want here. If I'm Phillip Brewer, I don't want to risk losing the lead. So before I take lap 10, I'm hitting pit lane, getting the 4 tires, filling up with fuel, and getting ready for that final run. But I feel like these other guys, it's a good chance that they're just going to do whatever Philip Brewer doesn't do. And I think that's the only way you're going to beat him right now. Obviously, Brewer is got the clean air and he's showing a lot of speed, but you get some of these other guys in clean air like Skinner or Laughter, I feel like they could be quick enough to hold him off too.
Yeah, and so clean air, it's kind of a catch-22. You got clean air on the nose right now for the 64, but he's got Skinner all over the back end, so that's kind of getting the car loose. Not so much here in the low-speed sections, but through that carousel just before the bus stop, you got to kind of set your corners up to defend, and it kind of changes your line. That's why I think you saw Laughter just lost about 0.3 of a second there that lap. It was not his best one, a 1:15.161, and the caution flies. Competition caution here on lap number 10, and Philip Brewer holding the lead by over 2 seconds. We'll pace back around here with the rest of this field coming through the start-finish line. All the way back to Hodges, who found the top 10. Or Cofield going the wrong direction in the 98, back to 11th.
Yep, and I was actually kind of surprised to see there wasn't a ton of people that actually pit before that caution. So, yeah, not exactly what I was expecting, but here we are under the stage break or competition caution. No points are going to be awarded, like you mentioned, Bradley. So this is solely just a bit of a break in the race to where drivers can get to pit lane, kind of see the tire wears, see how the car was driving, and maybe see how they need to adjust their driving style to get ready for this last stint. So it's going to be a long one, and these guys can't make it to the end here on fuel after this pit stop. So there will have to be another stop after this caution, which is probably going to be where the race is going to be either won or lost.
So Barney waving the yellow, and we're waiting for Fred to pull the safety car out, as he will do so now. That thing looks like it has a lot of torque there, Jeff. Broke some traction taking off.
Yeah, the thing definitely is getting out in front of the field now, and we'll pace around one more time here before the pits open, and we'll expect to see just about everybody up here towards the front come down and service their vehicles. And for Philip Brewer here, you're hoping you get into that pit stall cleanly and no mistakes, and you don't bury yourself in track position. I think if he keeps the lead, it's going to be really tough for anybody to really take it away from him. But, one small mistake and, it puts him back to 5th or 6th on a restart. That's the danger zone, and that's where you don't want to be. So Philip Brewer got to hit his marks here.
Partly cloudy, 75 degrees ambient air temperature, 95 on the track surface. So a little bit greasy here, but overall, pretty calm day at Watkins Glen. And we might see this track temperature come down a little bit as this race progresses. But the other factor is, especially through the S's, I say that, it comes down a degree. So I think with these guys kind of taking this pace lap, it's going to help that track cool down. But the usage, that's the part that nobody really talks about. Here at Watkins Glen, it's easy to throw debris up on the racetrack, Jeff, and iRacing recently adding that as an implementation. You can see it on the racetrack. You can pick it up on your tires, and if you overshoot or undershoot a corner, maybe go over the rumble strip, you can throw grass, dirt, and gravel up on this surface, and that will stay there for a while.
Yeah, it certainly will, and you got to be, aware of that. And also, just as the track or as the race progresses, we talk about the added rubber that changes the track conditions as well. And so, how this car felt in practice or qualifying, or even through this first stint of the race, it's not going to feel quite the same. So, more rubber onto the racetrack, probably going to slow down the times just a little bit. Although the track is getting a little bit cooler here, but we're ready for pit stops now, and Philip Brewer is going to lead him down pit lane.
Philip Brewer, Ben Laughter, Jared Skinner, Noah Mahalski, and Justin Ritchie, the top 5 as we come down pit road. Brewer, a little bit of an advantage there on that entry to pit road. I think he slowed up maybe a mile per hour or two slower, and now has a little bit of a gap now back up to 40. That could help alleviate any mistake here if he does slide the box a little bit. But watch everybody take 4 tires. Guarantee it.
Looks like he's into his box cleanly, as looks like most everybody is. We'll see. Now it's up to the RNG, right, to get that last set of tires on the side and see if he will be down and away. And he will keep the lead, so probably a sigh of relief from him. Usually as the leader, that's the most nerve-wracking part of the race, is your pit stop, because that's where you could potentially get buried in traffic. But he is on through. Ben Laughter will restart on the front row in second, and Jared Skinner, Noah Mahalski just behind in row 2.
Don't go anywhere. We have more coverage to continue here from Watkins Glen, week number 8 of the Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series. A word from our sponsors here on V-Speed. Back with more after this.
JS Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and Rolling Costumes started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time. So I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
Welcome back here to our live coverage. After the competition caution, we're going to go back green at lap 14. And we're still waiting for my picks, so I'm going to say Ben Laughter has something for the 44 of Philip Brewer. Jeff Wright picking the 44 to win this. He's led every single lap so far in week number 8. I don't see why that trend wouldn't continue with the clean air, but here we go as the pace car pulls off. Let's get back underway. Marty, the flagman, says Fred's off the track enough. Here we go, back underway at Watkins Glen. Already a battle here for second. That is going to fit into the hands of Philip Brewer perfectly. That's what he wants to see. Jared Skinner and Ben Laughter go back side by side, but look in the background. Here comes Jordan Trask to the outside. He picked up 2 spots at the start.
And this is going to be the highest running he's been all day, so moving him up further towards the front, that should make his life just a little bit easier. Ben Laughter not able to hold on to second place there on that restart, but he was he started 4th before the, or as we went to the green flag for the first time. So he is a little bit further up the road now. And I still think Ben Lafter, who chooses your pick now, I think he could certainly get it done. I think he's a very good road course racer and also certainly good on the long run. And I feel like the pit stop is going to be the big conversation here. Looks like Caleb Weekly was able to get a lot of that damage fixed, so that's also good to see.
Yeah, he's got a hood back on this machine, and really, I mean, at first glance, it doesn't look like it really has much damage at all. There's a little crinkle there on the right front fender, but Weekly able to outlast Stephen Davis and Brandon Wallace, so he's going to be guaranteed 16th position at the very least with the early exit of the 60 and 99. But you go back, we could have more DNFs, and for Weekly to just kind of stick this thing out, that's what you got to do. That's what championships are made off of. And Jeff, you would know better than anybody, your worst weeks are what you're judged off of at the end of the season.
Yeah, and sometimes when the race isn't going your way and you're caught up in an early incident like Weekly was and a handful of others, it's just about, picking up the points that are available there. You're not going to go out and win the race anymore or, post a top 10, top 5, but if you can just get out there and get all you can, you never know, how the playoffs or making the chase could come down to just a handful of points. So it's good these guys are sticking it out, and they know how important it is to pick up all the points they can, because as we get down to, our elimination race before we start our playoffs, we've seen it so many times, that can be settled by just a handful of points. So good thing they're out here to try to get all they can.
Watching Jared Skinner actually hang time this time by. It looks like he's going to run a 1:14. He is in the green on the Delta. Jared Skinner, 1:13.955. Philip Brewer, just 0.2 faster, though. That clean air is paying dividends on the front of this Zen 44.
And, as these laps continue to click off, we're going to see more and more how important it is to be good on the long run. And I still think Philip Brewer, he was good on the long run, but I think the farther we go, it opens up the opportunity for some of the other guys, and we talked about Skinner and Lafter probably being those other guys that could maybe hang with him. That will give them at least a shot to see where they stack up with him. Because we only went 10 laps that first stint. We're going to go a little bit longer this time around, so there will be more tire wear. And then the green flag pit stop. That's going to be,
that's the
big
money stop
point. Yeah, that's going to be where Philip Brewer can either, win this race, or a mistake could potentially take that win away from him. So we'll have to wait and see there, but still got to be clean and smooth all throughout this race if you're going to want to get to victory lane.
Riding on board with Austin Belke. He was caught up in that incident there on lap number 1, just as we came up the hill from the S's to the bus stop. And, again, it goes back to sticking this out. You have Judson Curtis in front of him with heavy rear end damage, electing not to get most of that repaired. I don't think it's hindering the 29 too bad, though, and he seems to be doing quite well. And he's got 2 spots back to 10th from where he qualified.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me some of these guys would still have race cars to actually even drive after that first incident, I wouldn't have believed you, because they certainly looked like they were race ending. And I know these cars are not, handling the best or have the speed in them anymore. But I mean, the fact that they're still out here is kind of shocking. So they're trying to get as much points as they can. You can still see he's got some rear end damage. Unless, something glitched, because Justin Curtis looked destroyed, Belke looked destroyed, Caleb Weekly, he's riding just behind, he looked destroyed. Their cars look okay right now, but, based on lap times and stuff, they certainly, are down some RPM and still have some significant damage, at least under the hood.
There's a battle for the 4th position with the 03 of Noah Michalski, last week's winner at Kansas. And our 2-time winner, Jordan Trask, in 4th position on the outside. Tough pass to make, but Michalski getting it connected to the pavement. He'll clear, and Richie, 2 spots lost for the 79.
Yeah, it looked like Trask wasn't able to quite get the power down and going to lose a few spots, and a big send into the corner here for Justin Ritchie, but he's going to make it stick, and he's starting to look like he's going to maybe pressure Noah Michalski here. Still quite a ways behind the leader, these guys are, but Jared Skinner still hanging, relatively close to Brewer, not letting him just run away with it. And then we talk about your pick and that number 64, Ben Lafter. During the pre-race, Bradley, you talked about this maybe being an opportunity for somebody to get a win that maybe isn't competing for the wins on the ovals week in, week out. And I certainly think Ben Lafter maybe fits that narrative. He knows that he's good at road courses. He's very comfortable, confident at these types of racetracks. So, you know, I feel like anybody that's going to be good on a long run in a road course, it's probably going to be this 64 Ben Laffer. There's so much experience. The key is here. He's got to nail that pit stop. He's got to nail the strategy. Do you want to pit before the guys in front of you here? You want to go a little bit longer, have some fresher tires for the end? Whatever he decides to do, I'm sure he's going to make it work because talk about road course racers. The 64 is definitely somebody you're going to be thinking about.
Well, and interesting, Jeff, that you asked on that strategy. I think you go one lap longer than Brewer, and maybe the overcut is the answer here. We see that a lot, and it doesn't work as much at ovals. The undercut seems to put guys in better track position, and depending on where we are, you know, you can hold guys off. We saw it at Darlington here on V-Speed on the Wednesday night series. There was only a second of fall off, and because that track is so narrow in the groove, guys couldn't get around one another. So we had guys overcutting or undercutting each other 8 to 10 laps and still able to hold off guys that had caught them from, 8 seconds back with 10 lap older tires. So it's going to play into that, and probably the way these guys are driving the car overall. Laffer's probably saving a little bit more than Philip Brewer right now because Jared Skinner is starting to shave some time off. So you got to wonder, Jeff, is he catching up, or is Brewer backing up the car to try to save?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I wouldn't be thinking that Brewer would be wanting to back up too much here. So I think we're just kind of seeing the long run pace here of the 7 of Jared Skinner kind of start to show. And they'll be telling here within the next few laps, when these guys want to pit. I feel like some guys are going to pit as soon as that fuel window opens. And others, they might want to split this run in half, and then maybe we'll see some do the overcut as well. I think that the undercut, like you mentioned earlier, is probably going to be the strategy that works, just because that's going to net you some more track position and clean air. And on a road course like Watkins Glen, with how fast it is, clean air is so important here. Much more than at Sonoma than where we were at last season in the Challenger Series. So I think you're right on it, Mr. Cooper. I think that the undercut here is probably going to be the play. We'll just have to wait and see what the leaders do.
Riding on board with Justin Ritchie, who's gained up some time on Noah Mahalski. Mahalski up to the top 5 a little bit earlier in that first 10-lap stint. But Ritchie starting to turn up the heat a little bit. Last time by, you can see it's about 0.3 faster than Mahalski. Gotta wonder if he's got something for him here on this final corner. 55, touching that. And the 3D modeling that they went through, I don't know if we can get a good angle of this or not, Jeff, but the curbs here, they used to be flat. They were just kind of painted textures. Now they got some depth to them. You can kind of see where you can ride on them and you can't.
Yeah, you certainly can. And Watkins Glen, especially that first corner there, there's a nice little groove where it feels like if you can get that right front tire in there just right, you really nail that corner. If you miss it just a little bit, you're gonna get washed out to the end of the curbing on the other side of the track and probably lose some time. And it's all about not overshooting that. And I think road course racers, they have experience doing this all the time. So guys like Ben Laffer, for example, you can see he's been consistently hitting that corner really, really well. Is Austin Belke now on to pit lane getting service? Is this going to be the first guys to get pit stops here? It looks like it is.
24 down pit road, 15.1 in the box. Maybe got a little bit of that damage repaired. And Philip Brewer on the exit of turn 6, now to turn 7. You're watching that lead kind of shrink down. Justin Ritchie, mistakes are made on turn 6. He locked it up. He was trying to pass Noah Mahalski and ends up in the grass.
Yeah, going to lose quite a bit of time there with that incident there. So unfortunate there for Justin Ritchie. He was showing some good speed, and just a little mistake like that can really take you out of contention.
Ended up running into the back of the 03 and locked it up.
You have to wonder, is there any damage on the 03 as well? I mean, we talk about how sensitive the rear of these race cars are with the Xfinity Series vehicle. It's, you get any sort of damage to the rear of the car, you lose all rear downforce, and it's really bad. So we'll have to see if Noah Mahalski's going to be able to hang on here. Should have pit stop starting here soon. Doesn't look like it's too bad, or not, at least not from what we can tell. So I think he should be okay, but still, that's definitely not where you want to get hit at.
Looks like the 55 of Richie pretty clean too on the front nose as we approach those money stops. Going to continue on for another lap with Philip Brewer, leader of lap 22. Every single one in the bank for him so far.
Yep, he's had the clean air from the start, and he has kept it ever since. We saw Jared Skinner make a bit of a run at Philip Brewer there. Got within about 0.7 of a second. But, I mean, that invisible wall of air, once you get into that wake of the car in front of you here at a high-speed racetrack like Watkins Glen, it's just like you can't break it. You can't get through it. And I think that's what we're experiencing here. Is Jared Skinner kind of starting to fall off a little bit. Maybe push his stuff just a hair trying to catch him, but he's still definitely within striking distance. And got to know here, when are these guys going to peel off to pit lane? I feel like if you're Skinner, you definitely want to pit before Brewer if you want to have a chance at this thing.
But I think the difference here is you're seeing the clean air in the lap times. Skinner can run and match Brewer, but he's not doing it every single lap. And like you said, he gets up there in the kind of that bubble there with the dirty air around 7 to 6/10, and it changes his lap time. And then he falls back a couple seconds here, maybe not a full 2 seconds, but he's about 1.5 seconds. Now he's got clean air again. This time by nearly identical lap times. So I think for Skinner right now, it's just ride that bubble and try not to get in that dirty air, because it's going to use that car up kind of prematurely.
It seems like he is starting to lose a little bit more time now than he was here the past few laps. So if I'm Skinner, if I'm Ben Lafter even, I think you got to get to pit lane here really soon. Otherwise, you're just going to lose too much time. And if at least you can pit before Brewer, you have an opportunity to where you could maybe jump him. And I know it's going to be tough to hold him off, but Philip Brewer hasn't had to deal with dirty air all day. So it could really stall his car out. If you can get in front of him, these guys certainly could have a chance to hold him off.
Riding on board with the High Side Podcast, and Hunter Sr. trying to make a pass for the top 5. He is caught up to Jordan Trask. He's all over the back bumper, and last time by, he was faster than probably most of the top 5.
Yeah, certainly a good run for Hunter Sr. Only bad thing for him, he's 10 seconds behind the leader. So even though he is maybe a little bit faster, that's just certainly a lot of time that you're going to have to make up here. Curious to see if any of these guys are going to maybe try to short pit. I feel like at this point where you're running, you really don't have much to lose. But really, I think the only 2 guys I think that can really compete right now with Brewer, that's going to be Skinner and Lafter. And I just think they have to get clean air. Yeah. And they have to short pit to have any shot at that, because if Brewer gets to pit lane first, he's going to grow his lead just a little bit. And I just don't think that, Skinner, Lafter have shown that they're going to be faster on the long run to make up for that. So I really feel like that's your only choice here, only option is just to short pit, see where you come out, try to put that 44 in a position that he hasn't been in all night. And who knows, it just might work.
When you're the strategist at Sonoma, I've seen you drive there, and in fact, he taught me a lot about that racetrack. Got me a top 10 finish there last season in the Challenger Series. This place, a little bit more of a left-hand, 90-degree turns, but still, it's analytical. Every single corner, an opportunity to make a mistake, and on top of that, there's guys that love this place, and there's guys that hate this place. I think that's what we're kind of seeing here as we watch Jared Skinner come down pit road. You're seeing the guys that kind of prepped themselves, took it seriously, and did their due diligence for the week, and the guys that are like, okay, I guess I'll be here this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a polarizing racetrack. You have a lot of guys that, love this place, a lot of guys that don't like this place, and I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, Watkins Glen is certainly not my favorite track, but it's not my least favorite either. You talk about Sonoma earlier there, Bradley Cooper. I love that racetrack. I think you know that. But yeah, these are just 2 very different racetracks. This is a high speed, a lot of momentum, kind of just wrestling this car the entire race. Sonoma, a lot slower, a lot of heavier braking points, more technical. I tend to like that style of racing a little bit better. And also, you don't have to deal with the dirty air that's normal like you do here at Watkins Glen. It's still there, but it's definitely not as impactful.
The lead now 4.5 seconds, says the 7 in second place hit pit road. He's back to 13th. Here comes Philip Brewer. And do we see the 44 come down? No, we do not. Is this going to be the opportunity for Laughter to bring it down to the pits? He will.
Yeah, this is going to be good for both these drivers of Laughter and Skinner. This is, like I said, I think this is their only shot is to undercut Brewer. Now you have to wonder, was Brewer just waiting for those two guys to peel off to pit lane because he probably thinks that's his biggest competition and maybe he just wants the fresher tires for the final run? But if Brewer stays out another lap or two, I think it's inevitable that those guys will jump him, and then Brewer, yes, he'll have the fresher tires, but he'll have to complete some passes. And based on the speed of Skinner and Laughter, that's not going to be an easy pass by any means. He's going to have to work for it, and he's going to have to earn it.
Yeah, I would expect him to come down this time by. I'm sure somebody's up on the box telling him we need tires. He's drifting through the carousel a little bit there, a little bit sideways. Wheeling that thing through turn 5. We'll see this time by if the 44 chooses to come in. Noah Michalski back in second position, 8.2 seconds back. Brewer could afford to take his time and execute this stop, and this will be the lap.
Yep, and it looked like there was about a second to fall off, from the fastest lap to his last lap. So, if the math is right, and if Skinner and Laughter, hit their marks pretty good and didn't have any mistakes on pit lane, they're going to have a shot to overtake this lead. I know Brewer was really starting to pull away there those last few laps, but it's possible. And if they get right in front of Brewer here on this pit exit, I mean, now we got a race. So it'll be exciting to see where this all cycles through.
Still have to cycle some more drivers as Justin Ritchie and Hunter Sr. come down pit road. Mark Cofield going to stay out another lap. We'll look here at Philip Brewer. 42.5 down pit lane. And I'm looking at the numbers here with 43.3. He bested these two by about a second on pit road.
Yeah, and that just shows you the lead that he had, but also the execution. He must have got into pit lane really well, got into his box, and minimized the time on pit lane. So really good job there by Philip Brewer. I don't know if these guys are going to have a shot to run him down now. Brewer's got the track position. He's got the fresher tires. You just got to, tick off these laps, make no mistakes, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge him.
And it's going to be a black flag penalty for Keith Shoemaker. A holding call now as he sped on the entry of pit road. So the 88 has a 30-second hold. Tough break here for Shoemaker.
Yeah, certainly is. He was one of those guys that was, taking care of his car, and he was able to avoid some of those big wrecks early on, and was going to pick up some spots. But this penalty is certainly going to put a damper on his performance tonight. Certainly not going to finish where he wanted to.
Michalski staying out the longest here of the drivers that were in the top 5, and he's going to get a couple laps led. The 03 probably going to aim somewhere around that 5th position when it's all said and done. But for every lap he stays out here, that could get a little tougher. Like you said, it works the same way for every car on this racetrack right now. You get pinned deeper and deeper in this field for every lap that goes by. And some of these guys short pitted 2 laps ago compared to Michalski. He's losing about 1.5 seconds a lap to those guys now.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, he kind of knew he wasn't going to win this race, just by doing what everybody else did. He's going to just go for the long strategy here. He's going to have the freshest tires, really, of anybody in that top 10 after he pits, but it's going to be a lot of time to have to make up, and I just don't think we have enough laps remaining for that to really work. He might be able to pass some of the guys that he was racing, but in terms of competing for the win, I don't think he's going to have any shot at that, unfortunately. Race winner at Kansas just a week ago, like we talked about, got his 5th career SNR Challenger Series win, and right now, Philip Brewer, he's on a quest to get his 5th win in the SNR Challenger Series as well, if he can hold it together here for the next 15 laps or so.
Well, we're past the halfway mark. We're actually way past that halfway mark, and we failed to do it last week, Jeff, so I think it's prime opportunity to find those volume knobs. And let's get a noise complaint here on V-Speed. It's time to get loud, presented by FireStorm Racing. Sights and sounds from Watkins Glen. Let's get loud, presented by FireStorm Racing. Back to our live shot with Philip Brewer catching up to some lap traffic. And Jeff, the way this is looking right now, we actually had a mistake made by Jared Skinner. He falls back to third. Ben Lafter getting around. It's kind of feeling reminiscent of a barn burner that you would have put on at Sonoma. Just lead every lap and don't look back.
Yeah, we got to really give Philip Brewer a lot of credit. I mean, he's really done it all tonight. He got the pole, set the fastest lap in qualifying. He's, pretty much led every lap in terms of, if you throw out the pit cycle. We saw Matt Shinosky just peeled off a little bit ago to make his pit stop, and so he led a lap or two, but really it has been all Philip Brewer. He's been the fastest on the short run and really the long run too. We really started to see him flex those muscles there before that pit stop, and he actually gained ground on a lot of the guys that undercut him. So you don't always see that. So Philip Brewer just doing everything right tonight, and he's got a handful of more laps here to clinch this one, but nothing goes wrong. This is about the smoothest sailing we've seen of anybody this season. It's definitely going to be the biggest margin win, and all together that will be win number 5. He'll tie Noah Mahalski again for the second most all-time on the all-time win list. Obviously Dakota Floyd, the 2-time series champion, holds the most with I believe
is that 7 or 9 or
let's say 7. So
these guys 2 championships as well.
Yeah, 2 championships, 7 wins. There's a reason he's not racing Challenger Series anymore. Bradley Cooper. This guy is definitely proven that he can compete for wins in the Cup Series week in, week out. And so can a lot of these guys, though. Philip Brewer, a very talented road course racer, and he's somebody that posted a top 10 actually here in Watkins Glen in the Cup Series just a season or 2 ago. So he certainly knows how to get around this racetrack. But tonight, with the clean air, the good qualifying effort, the good pit strategy, he is really putting a beating on this field, to say the least.
As you're looking through the schedule there for the Cup Series, we've got Kentucky, Iowa, Darlington, Chicagoland, and Martinsville. So I'm noticing something here, Jeff.
What are we noticing, Mr. Cooper?
Doesn't appear to be any road courses in the Cup Series schedule.
No, not this season. There's no road course, and so I think based on tonight's turnout here at the Challenger Series, you can probably guess why. These guys like to race ovals, and I don't blame them. You know, it's nice to have a road course here and there, but ovals is certainly what this league is built on the most, and it's certainly what gets the most turnout. So no road course in the SNR Cup Series this season, but have to be willing to bet there'll probably be one back next season. And if you're guys like Ben Laughter, you know, who love road courses, I'm sure he was hoping to see a road course on the schedule, as he's sitting here in second, his best run of the season here in the SNR Challenge Series. And you know, these guys are not bad road course racers by any means. I mean, especially Laughter, Skinner, Mahalski, these guys are really good road course racers. It's just showing that Philip Brewer is, you know, kind of insane at these types of racetracks right now, pulling ahead to a 6.5 second lead. That's no easy feat.
No, it is absolutely not. And I was trying to get the schedule up here, but it appears that that graphic is kind of broken. So I'm going to try again. There we go. There's the SNR Challenger Series schedule. So the remaining races, we have Charlotte coming up, North Wilkesboro. I'll tell you what, the guys that did the schedule here, this is more technical, I think, than the variety. No offense to anybody that planned this out. I know you're part of the admin team, but man, punishing these guys at the tail end of the season with Wilkesboro in there.
Yeah, you know, the Xfinity cars are pretty durable, I have to say. So I feel like if we're going to go to some tight racetracks, a little more technical racetracks, this might be the car for it with those composite bodies. A little bumping and banging, you know, give the viewers what they want to see. And certainly saw some of that tonight here at the start of the race. Not exactly the type of bumping and banging we want to see with a lot of the guys getting taken out of contention early. But a fun schedule here. I'm excited, especially for that North Wilkesboro race. A tight corners racetrack in the Xfinity car. That one's going to be a blast. And I'm sure we're going to see the bumpers used a little bit more than you typically do, because at North Wilkesboro, it's just too small of a racetrack for that not to happen.
Yeah, and we'll take you back on a quick replay here to look at this start of the race. This was the initial lap one. The incident here with Caleb Weekly, Judson Curtis. You had Austin Belke involved in this. The 31 of Shinoski just escaped it, I believe. The 88. And it's just a lot to unpack there. This is the very beginning of the race. And look at all the cars that, you know, maybe left the session a little earlier than they intended to. Mark Cofield, now one of those cars, one of those drivers joining. So, you know, again, shout out to Caleb Weekly. He's back up to 13th now. He's only 2 down from where he started this race. If he continues on this trend, there's no reason he couldn't get back to 11th.
Yeah, and that just shows you sticking with it. It's worth it, right? He's picking up some valuable points. The 13th car is riding in the 13th position. I believe that's his favorite number. If you know, you know. But another guy that I'm really impressed with that was involved in that same wreck, that was Judson Curtis. And he was just running inside the top 10. He just fell out. Matt Shinoski just passed him. But he was another driver that was destroyed as well. And he stuck with it, and he was running inside the top 10 just moments ago. But really, both Judson Curtis, Caleb Weekly, I think Chuck Sweeting got involved as well.
Belke.
Yeah, Belke. I mean, they're sticking with it, and they're picking up some spots here. So shout out to those guys for some attrition tonight, because I'll tell you what, Bradley, when you get damage at a racetrack, especially a road course, you just want to hang it up. I mean, you really do. Nobody wants to ride around. You know, I feel like a lot of these guys don't like road courses in general. And so you get some damage on the car, and that just makes the night all that much worse. But just big props to these guys for sticking it out tonight, trying to pick up as many points as they can. I know it's probably not been super fun for them, but they stuck it out, and they're going to be rewarded with some valuable points that could really matter once we get down to the playoff time.
So we were watching here with Justin Ritchie and Jordan Trask, the top 5. Ritchie a little bit faster last time by. He's chipping away at this. It's about 7/10. He's getting 2/10 a lap. There's plenty of time here for the 55 to work his way back into the top 5. You saw that mistake earlier where he locked it up, got into the back of Noah Mahalski. And, thankfully for him, he did that with a lot of time left in this race. But if you're Justin Ritchie right now, you're thinking, man, I should be up there racing for the 4th position, maybe even the 3rd position. You got to kind of get past that. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about with drivers sticking it out. This is also one of those sticking out moments.
Yeah, and he's certainly showed good speed, like you mentioned. It's just a matter of, limiting the mistakes. And unfortunate for Justin, he had, a couple big ones that really cost him a lot of time. But despite all that, here he is still in 6th place, trying to run down Jordan Trask there, just ahead for a top 5 finish on the day. And you really got to give a shout out to some of these other guys that have clawed their way through the field, like Christopher Hodges. He's currently running in 8th, and he started, very deep in the field, just about
Almost
as deep as
you
you can go. Yeah, at the very end. And here he is, maybe, not having the race winning pace by any means, but just, being smart, staying out of trouble, hitting that pit stop good. And here he is wheeling that car to a top 10 finish is what it looks like. And then same thing for Austin Belke. Austin Belke was involved in that crash, and look, he's in the top 10 as well. So it just shows you never give up.
Yeah, and Belke actually going to be right on the tail end here with Judson Curtis. Possible battle for the 10th position between Curtis, Sweeting, and Belke.
The battle for the top 10. Everybody wants it. That's what goes down in the stat book. If you finish just outside that top 10 mark, you don't get credited with that top 10 finish. And sometimes people maybe like to flex a little bit on those stats, right? See who had most top 5s, top 10s. So these guys are certainly racing not only for points, but everybody wants to get into that top 10 to credit another tally to your name into that column.
I love going back on SimHub and Dan Lisa back in the day. Showing my age there a little bit on iRacing, but you go back and look at your overall statistics, keeping track of it all the way through all of these leagues and all these seasons. And I wish there was a way to translate some of that data over to your iRating and all the things that you put up with in a league. It really doesn't speak for some of these guys. Have 4,000 iRating, but they have 23 league wins, and when you win in a league, it means so much more than an official race at iRacing Security.
It certainly does, and not only winning in a league, but when you win a league race that's on V-Speed, I mean, there's nothing better, Bradley Cooper. You got that thing archived for years to come. Nobody's taking that win away from you. So yeah, winning on V-Speed certainly very special. And Philip Brewer just about 5 to 6 laps away from winning again right here on V-Speed for the 5th time in the SNR Challenger Series. And really got to say, he made it look easy. We thought maybe we're going to have a race here, between the top 3. Certainly having a pretty good battle here, though, between Laughter and Skinner. They've been near each other all night long. But yeah, Brewer, going a little bit longer on that final pit stop, getting a little bit of fresher tires. And he has really set sail. He has doubled, the gap from before that stop to now. So Philip Brewer doing everything right now. And Justin Ritchie has just clawed his way back into the top 5.
And watch up through the S's, took it out really wide. Got a lot of speed before the bus stop chicane and got to the left-hand side of Jordan Trask. Trask backed it up. That's the part of the racetrack you don't want to be side by side, but he drove it back to his bumper. And we go back to the live shot. It's not over. Trask could definitely get back to him.
Yeah, he certainly could. He's not going away just yet. And yeah, in that part of the racetrack, it's not worth it really to try to go through there side by side. And maybe he figured, Richie's just a little bit better right now on the tires, having taken care of them a little bit better, that there's no reason to fight it, right, and risk wrecking yourself. So probably a smart heads-up move there by Trask, just to go ahead and let the faster car by here and try to finish out this race.
Finding on board with Chuck Sweeting in the 12th position. He was looking to the left side of Austin Belke. And I think we're going to see another change for position here with Sweeting on conservation for most of this run. Now starting to run some of the best laps of the race. More consistent laps, I would say. He's keeping it down in the low 116s and now a 115.9. So he is definitely faster than Belke on paper. Can he get around it with 5 to go?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And, now that we're inside the 5 to go mark, a lot of these guys right now, very big send here for Chuck Sweeting to the back bumper of Belke. But some of these guys they're so ready to get this race over with. It is although time-wise, it's not a terribly long race, but, road courses, other than that competition caution we had at lap 10, you don't get any breaks. You are constantly wheeling and wrestling this race car, for an hour straight, and it's exhausting. These guys' arms are probably tired, and this part of the race, this is where the drivers who are the most focused can maybe pick up a few more spots here while other guys are struggling. But I'd be willing to bet a lot of money right now that there's some guys that just want to get out of the race car, because I certainly am here after about an hour behind the wheel.
Well, you look at the 8-second deficit too. Ben Lafter is defending against Jared Skinner by half a second, but you see that telemetry in the black box. You have this pop-up display that tells you how far a driver is ahead of you in the next closest car. And if you're Ben Lafter right now, you're thinking, okay, I got a guy right behind me that's the immediate danger. No reason to push the car to try to catch up to Brewer with 4 to go. I got to get away from this guy behind me.
Yeah, that's what you're fighting for right now. He's fighting for second place, trying to keep Jared Skinner behind him. He's got a bit of a gap, like you mentioned, but one small mistake, and when the tires are this old, it is easy to make a mistake, maybe overdrive a corner. So you're just trying to finish out where you're running. And right now, Ben Lafter, I feel like, got to be super pleased with his performance tonight. I'm sure he had this race circled on his calendar, being a road ringer, if you will, and somebody who does a lot of road racing. He's showing that he probably wants to see more of these types of races on the schedule, and I don't blame him.
Looking back on board with Chuck Sweeting, he took another stab through the carousel on Austin Belke for a top 10. Something changed here.
This has been really
Hunter
fun to
Senior
watch.
had a problem.
Yeah, both these guys. 3 of these guys. You got Sweeting, Belke, Curtis. They have swapped positions amongst each other so many times throughout this race, and now Sweeting is underneath Belke again. A little bit of contact as they're going to drag race it down the front stretch here. We'll see if anybody gives an inch, but this is a battle for the top 10, right? This is what goes down in the stat book, is who gets the top 10 finish. Right now, Austin Belke doing everything he can to keep Chuck Sweeting behind, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. Chuck Sweeting looks awfully hungry right now.
And there's a moment here for Hunter Senior in the 1 car. If this battle subsides with 2 to go, I'm going to take us back really quickly. Hunter Senior having a problem here. Meatball flag for the number 1. This is a bounce off the, right into the pit wall.
Oh my goodness. They had a top 10 finish going, just had to hang on together, but got a little bit tight there in corner exit, and that's going to be the end of his night, unfortunately. That's a big hit, as Hunter Senior's already...
Belke out wide. Here's Chuck Sweeting's opportunity. He snags it, takes the top 10 here with the white flag coming up.
It's not over yet. I think Belke could maybe get back to him yet and maybe take that top 10 finish away from Chuck Sweeting. We'll see if he can get there.
And Judson Curtis in front, and he's within striking distance to get that car as well. As they're just now taking the 2 to go, Philip Brewer is coming through turns 6 and 7 for the white flag, and he will have just over 2 miles left here from Watkins Glen. Philip Brewer looking for his 5th win of the season. I don't think he has to look very far. It's 8 seconds back to second position. The battle back here with Lafter and Skinner about half a second. Maybe we'll see Skinner run his best lap of the night. Chuck Sweeting has caught up to Curtis to the bus stop.
Yeah, this is probably the closest battle on the racetrack right now. We'll see if Chuck Sweeting maybe elects to try and get to the back bumper here of the 29. Maybe move him out of the way, grab another spot. We talk about how important every single point is. And Chuck Sweeting's got one right in front of him here as these guys approach the final half of this lap.
And Philip Brewer is just now exiting the bus stop into the carousel, so he's on the other side of the racetrack. Thankfully for these drivers, though, they'll get another lap and another opportunity as now you see an overtake in the final corner. Curtis pinching him down a little bit. Not enough. And Sweeting up to 9th as they go into turn 1. A better drive off for the 29, but coming off of the final 2 turns for the final time at Watkins Glen, Philip Brewer is going to add himself his 5th win of the season. Week number 8 goes to the 44.
Yeah, big congrats, Philip Brewer. What a dominant day. And just quick clarification, the 5th career win, Bradley Cooper, but 3rd win on the season is still very, very impressive. And I couldn't believe that those guys battling for the top 10 were that far behind him. I thought we had another lap to go, but that just shows you the distance Philip Brewer put on the field tonight, as I believe they're still battling for that spot right now as we speak. Yeah, they're still over in the carousel here, and it looks like Chuck Sweeting did get that position away. Austin Belke, though, has a shot here for Judson Curtis.
He's got 2 more turns to do it. This would be for the top 10. He takes it out way wide, not enough there. He's going to have to break a little bit later than the 29 if he wants any shot at it. He's going to break later, but can he get the drive off? That's usually the opposite reaction. Curtis gets loose. And Belke back to 11th. Curtis with a damaged car gets a top 10.
And Belke closed up to the back room there, but what a fun battle to watch between those 3 drivers, Sweeting, Curtis there, and Belke. And Chuck Sweeting, he was going to get every position there. He was definitely on rails. He had some really good tires. Caleb Weekly finishing out the night here, and big sigh of relief from a lot of these guys. I think these guys are worn out. Yeah, people are stopping on the track. They're getting out of the car.
They're done.
They're ready to go to Kentucky for the SNR Cup Series here, starting in just about an hour. And it was Philip Brewer doing the victory parade lap now, and he's burned it down in a few different spots of the racetrack here, and I'm sure he'll probably do it once again here once he gets back to the front straightaway.
The 3rd win of the season, and thank you for correcting me on that, as he's actually going to total this car into the gravel. No, he's going to miss the wall just barely. And it looks like Brewer going to hang it up here. Yeah, we're going to do a little burnout. I don't know if I can even get a good angle on this. There you go. Well, don't go anywhere. We have more post-race coverage to continue from Watkins Glen. Interviews with your top 3 in this final race results right after this. Quick word from our sponsors here on V-Speed. You're watching Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series, week number 8.
JS Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Rock and Rolling Costume started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time. So I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
Welcome back here to our live coverage at Watkins Glen. Week number 8 has concluded in the 45 laps at the Glen. Philip Brewer adding his 3rd win on the season. Phenomenal race, a dominant performance by the 44. He will go to victory lane. We'll talk with him, Ben Laughter, and Jared Skinner for the top 3 in just a moment's time. But here's your final race results. The race recap with 1 caution, a competition caution, and 3 lead changes coming under that pit cycle. I think we only had a handful of guys actually lead some laps here tonight. Noah Mahalski in the 4th position. He led some laps. You had Justin Ritchie with a top 5. He clawed his way back up there. Jordan Trask, solid day, started and finished in 6th. Chris Hodges, biggest mover of the race, 9 positions gained for the 15. He'll finish in 7th. Matt Shanoski in 8th. And Chuck Sweeting making some last lap passes for 9th. Judson Curtis with a damaged car to hang on to the top 10.
Finishing in 11th, it's a little bit story of attrition for some of these guys back here. Austin Belke finishes 11th after that first incident wreck. Same with Caleb Weekly. He stuck with it, battled through it. He wheels that number 13 to a 12th place finish. Tad Dabney in that number 9 car, he will finish in the 13th spot. Keith Shoemaker had that penalty that dropped him a few spots for speeding. He settles for 14th. Hunter Sr., that late race wreck, hit the barrels, ended his night, finishes 4 laps down in 15th. Mark Cofield returning to the Challenger Series for the first time in a while. He got caught up in a few things as well. And same story for the rest of these guys, finishing several laps down. Stephen Davis, 17th. Brandon Wallace in 18th.
And there you go, our final race results for week number 8. And now it's time to go to victory lane. We've caught up with the driver of the number 44, Philip Brewer, 3rd win on the season. But this one, it feels a little bit different. I don't think I've seen you dominate a race like this in the Challenger Series ever, or, you know, in the 2 seasons that I've seen you driving here, this is a barn burner, buddy.
Yeah, I felt pretty good. It's what I wanted to do last year at Sonoma before I was wrecked, but I'll take it this time around. I think Ben had something for me if he could have got around some guys earlier, but he kind of had some misfortune and lost some time on that.
Well, Philip, we go back to the beginning of this race and that first stage, and what we call it a stage, but it was more of a competition caution. And you had those 10 laps to kind of run this car and feel it out. How did you feel based off of that, knowing, you know, you're going to have a money stop later in this race? You executed that really well.
Well, that caught me off guard because I didn't know we were having a competition caution, so I was setting up for the long run there. But I mean, it all worked out. Got away clean on the next restart, and I was just waiting for Skinner and Ben to come down, and then I'd follow through. Just take my time, not speed, not slide through my box like I did last week.
It was perfect execution on pit road, 42.5 down the lane. You beat Laughter and Skinner by almost half a second there. And, you know, just overall, great race. You get the trifecta with starting on the pole, you lead the most laps, and ultimately you add another win on the season. Looking like a championship run with only a few left in the regular season. Philip Brewer, who do you want to shout out while we have you in the broadcast booth?
Shout out to the admins for this great league. I mean, I have fun every Saturday. Shout out to you guys up in the booth. And shout out to all the sponsors. I couldn't even try to list all of them, but I know they're a big part of this league.
Well, we got a lot of them here with Walking and Rolling Costumes, Clark Print Shop, of course, Juicy Spider Studios. And I apologize to anybody I might have missed there for a millisecond. I drew a blank too, Philip. It's okay. You're victorious here. Go celebrate it. And we'll move on to Kentucky here in the Cup Series in just a few minutes.
Thanks, guys.
Philip Brewer victorious here at Watkins Glen. And we'll move down to our second place finisher. It's been Laughter in the 64, and I believe Jeff Wright has caught up with him.
Yep, I'm down here on pit lane with Ben Laughter. And Ben, I know that you had this race circled on your calendar. You and road courses just certainly go well together, and you got the camera back on, so thank you for that. Second place, pretty good night, accumulated quite a few points, but what else did you need to maybe run with that 44 Philip Brewer tonight?
Well, I'll get all the excuses out of the way, Jeff. Starting on the outside is a bit of a death nail. I got trapped behind a couple of good guys, but I got trapped there. I couldn't get to his bumper. And then I got affected by some lap traffic a couple times too. But I don't know. If I could have been on Brewer's bumper, I might have been able to give him something to fight for. But I think he had just a slight edge over me tonight. But a lot of fun, a lot of respect to both Brewer and Skinner. Those guys both put up a great fight, and it was just a lot of fun. Love road courses, good times.
Yeah, looking at some of the statistics here, you actually tie your best career finish here in the SNR Challenger Series. You posted a second place at Martinsville last season. What is it about, really? I mean, we know the road courses, for you are very good, but also, short tracks, some of that kind of translates, right? Typically, the guys that run well in short tracks are also good road course races. Did you feel like, this race in particular was maybe going to be your best shot to win tonight? Bradley Cooper and I kind of talked about you as maybe a dark horse that could come out of here and get a win. We know that track position, so important that is. Philip Brewer, obviously clean air out of the gate. We thought maybe with the strategy that you could maybe get yourself in a position to where you could jump Philip Brewer and then he'd have to deal with some dirty air. And, that being the first time all night, he would have had to deal with that. Do you think had you got to the lead, you think you would have had enough to maybe hold him off?
Totally. It's so hard to pass. Both times that I got around Jared was because he made a mistake in the bus stop. It's not that I passed him on raw pace. He just made a mistake and I took advantage. It's a tire conservation race. To your point, as far as short tracks versus road courses, you go out to, go out to Road Atlanta and you're on the brakes 13 times throughout a lap. And so you get good at feeling out your brakes. Road courses and short tracks are all about braking and entry, right? Understanding that your brakes aren't there to slow the car down, they're there to set up acceleration. When you figure that out, you get good at short tracks. Now, if only I could figure out those bigger tracks, that'd be all right.
Well, we're going back to a bigger track at Charlotte Motor Speedway in just 1 week's time. How do you feel about maybe going out there and then looking another week past that? We go to a short track, and that's what we've seen you run the best. Martinsville was a track that you got second place. Is North Wilkesboro maybe a track that you're going to have some confidence going to here in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I think I'm solid there. In another league back in the day before SNR, I remember running top 5 there a couple of times. So, I'm pretty solid at all those tracks. I'm the only one I think on the schedule before the chase that I'm worried about really is Bristol, but that's not because of pace. That's because of Bristol, of surviving. So I'm excited about the rest of the schedule. It's been a fun season so far, and I hope I can make my way into the chase and give these guys a fight.
Well, second place tonight for you, Ben. Not too bad at all. Going to gain some points. And now I see you are actually 12th in the standings. So holding that final transition spot into the playoffs. We'll see if you can hold it off for the rest of the season and get yourself into the chase. Real quick, though, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank and give a shout out to?
Well, I mean, everybody, all the admins, I know they take flack from time to time. It's a lot of work putting on these things. So appreciate them. I appreciate the awesome broadcast you guys do. And again, big shout out to Jared for racing me really clean there at the end. And congrats to Brewer for the awesome win.
Well, we appreciate the kind words, Ben. And second place for you tonight. We'll look for you maybe tonight at Kentucky in the SNR Cup Series if you'll be making an appearance.
Yeah, I'll be running second there as well.
10-4. We'll be looking forward to it. So Ben Laughter, second place tonight here at the GLEN, and we talk about being good on road courses and short tracks, and that's certainly this guy's specialty. He settles for second. It's not the win that he wanted, but I mean, Bradley, you get yourself into the transfer spot and the points. That's a pretty good night as well. Moving on to our third place finisher on the night. It was the guy that was battling with Ben Laughter all night, and that is Jared Skinner. Bradley Cooper is down on pit lane with him right now.
Yeah, I'm down here with Jared Skinner, and Jared, we keep putting together some of these podiums and, Juicy Spider Gaming, the High Side podcast. You guys keep doing more and more here in the SNR. The scheme of things here, we've had Josh Adams and I believe it was Donnie Kite who had success, but you guys here in the Challenger Series, it's translating over to the Cup Series. You're looking bad fast everywhere we're going.
Yeah, man, I can't thank everybody over at Juicy Spider Gaming enough. Nick Happyack especially, and Josh Adams, they really work with me and help me because I'll tell you what, I was not that confident coming into Watkins Glen, and they ran some practice laps with me and really boosted my confidence back up. And then when we got into practice and the session, it felt great.
When you go back to the mistakes, though, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Jared, but man, are you kicking yourself over that? It was the same corner 2 times that you gave up that second spot.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I remember, I think in the bus stop, the last time I let Ben around me, it would not downshift into second, so I was stuck in third. Couldn't get the car woed up enough and just completely missed the corner. If I didn't do that, I think I could have held him off, especially since I started catching him at the end of it. But Brewer seemed to be in a different zip code tonight, especially on the last half of that race.
Well, Jared, that was bringing me to my final question there. You come in here kind of holding pace with him, especially in the restart. You're keeping him at around half a second for a while. But what more did you need? Was it the dirty air? Was it the car? Was it just the temperature? What was the factors or the thing you could have changed maybe to get to the win?
I think honestly, it was just the lack of experience in this car on a road course. Tonight was the first time I've ever ran the Xfinity car on a road course.
It's impressive.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I just need a little bit more practice. I think if I would have practiced a couple more days instead of the last couple, I probably could have sneaked one in there. But like I said, Brewer's a really good driver and apparently on the road courses too. And he held his own tonight.
Well, you got those extra days to run the High Side podcast, hang out with the boys over at Juicy Spider Gaming, and talk about this top 3 as we get set for some Cup Series action. Congratulations again, Jared, and go ahead and shout out the rest of those guys that helped make this possible.
Absolutely. Like I said, Nick Hapiak, Mike Morgan, Donnie Kite, good run tonight by Hunter. Like to thank Splash and Go Graphics, everybody at SNR, and then you guys at V-Speed.
Jared Skinner, 3rd place finish. We'll see you in about half an hour here at Kentucky.
All right, sounds good.
I just about moved myself out, Jeff. I went to grab him, and glad I didn't click on the wrong channel. But yeah, it's a whole different animal here at Watkins Glen compared to where we're about to go. Coming up next here, Jeff.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys in here would be happy to get back to the ovals. At least the guys that struggled tonight. And road courses can be animals for sure. And we have the guys that like them, like Ben Laughter, and ran really well tonight. But now back to the bread and butter of our series, which is these ovals. And I'm excited to get to Kentucky. The new repave. We were here one time a season ago. Back at it. We'll see what happens tonight. I think we should be in for a good show.
Kentucky Speedway, a 1.5 mile oval that puts on a fantastic show. You got to look out for that turn 4 wall. You can catch it here live on V-Speed in just about 30 minutes time, where you'll see Jeff Wright and the rest of the gang here for the Cup Series. Of course, you can hit the subscribe button. You'll never miss a single notification or single race. We have flag-to-flag coverage all season long for both the Challenger Series and the Cup Series. But that's going to do it for us here at V-Speed, and I'd like to thank all the sponsors and help put this together, the admin team here at Saturday Night Racing League, and congratulations again to Philip Brewer on his 3rd win of the season. For my co-commentator Jeff Wright, Adam Baker, our co-owner, all of our other owners with Eddie Smith, Morgan Cook, it's Bradley Cooper saying so long from Watkins Glen. We'll see you in 30 minutes for the Cup Series. Stay tracking, everybody.